Oh, I like that introduction. My goodness. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever stood before an audience and taken a look around and think, hang on, am I in the right place? You sort of look at these faces and they're not quite what you expected. You think, well, I'm looking at them, but they're not giving me the sort of encouragement or warmth that I was really anticipating. In fact, what's going through your mind is those immortal words said by Butch Cassidy. Who are those guys? It happened to me once. Many years ago, I was fortunate enough to have won the humorous speaking club championship in Corinthians. And I did so with this highly audacious speech. Oh yes. And it was raunchy, I have to admit. But it was one based on my years living on a very small Caribbean island. And it was full of these really colourful characters that I lived with. So you can imagine how audacious and raunchy the speeches were. And there were long passages in this speech which I delivered in my best Jamaican accent, man. Man! That accent was seriously Irie, man. Anyway, so the club liked it. The club liked it. They liked it. And that meant that I went through to the next level, which is the area contest. Now, in those days, Toastmasters hadn't really taken off in this country. And the area was actually the whole of southeast England. So here we had two London clubs, ourselves and our mother club, Grosvenor Square Speakers, which Adam was a member. We had three clubs in the commuter belt, in Epsom, Maidenhead and Windsor. And the sixth club was all the way down the south coast in Chichester. And that's where I went for the area contest. And I got there. And I swear to God, I felt I could have been on Mars. It was like totally alien territory. I mean, my club, our club, London Corinthians, was and is a melange of peoples, different nationalities, different ethnic groups, different ages, different sexes even. It's true. In Chichester, it was 90% male, 95% middle to old age, and 100% Anglo-Saxon. So I delivered this speech with my best Jamaican accent to stone. Total silence. I kid you not. There was not a smile, not a laugh in the whole speech. And it was only when I got to the end that I realized that I had given an excruciatingly inappropriate speech for an audience of waxworks. Which brings me, of course, to the golden rule of preparing a speech, which is to know your audience. That is your number one rule. And it is sinful to ever do what I did and do no research on who your audience is going to be. It's so easy to say. All you have to do is pick up a telephone, couple of calls, couple of emails, get on the internet. 10 minutes in the internet, you can find out what age group, what educational background, what sex, what jobs are they likely to have. Get some feel for the cultural sensitivities of your audience. If you're speaking to a business audience, find out what managerial level they are at. Find out their qualifications, their education. Find out if they are happy to be in that meeting, or whether they've been coerced into being there. Find out if they want to be educated or entertain, or both. Know your audience is your number one rule in preparing a speech. Back in the 1990s, in Toastmasters, not just in this club, but in all of London, there used to be a sort of unwritten rule that one shouldn't, in one's speeches, contain any references to sex, religion, or politics. This always puzzled me, because what else is there to speak about? So one of our presidents, I can't remember who, was it? One of our presidents wrote to Toastmasters headquarters in California and asked whether there was anything behind this. And they wrote back, fair dues, they wrote back immediately and said, no, there is no such rule, but be careful that in your speeches you address the sensitivities of your audience. Fine, that means know your audience, which means that, for example, there should be no reference to hammers and tongs in your speech. I kid you not. 5 years ago, there was a speech in London Corinthians where one speaker got up and he showed us graphically all about hammers and tongs, including body movements, pelvic thrust, I'm not going to demonstrate, vocal variety, the whole repertoire of vocal variety. Do you remember that? Grunts, shrieks. It was so cringingly inappropriate that we were all squirming in our seats. But this doesn't mean to say, ladies and gentlemen, that you needn't have any references to sex in your speech. In fact, please stick them in, we love them. So for example, if you want, I'm serious, if you want to talk about your concupiscent youth, for example, like Kieran did 2 weeks ago, stick it in. If you want to talk about that night of love that I hope Lynn will be telling us about later on, stick it in. If you want to talk about George's new hobby, swinging, stick it in. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, the golden rule, the first rule for preparing a speech is to know your audience. Or, to put it another way, man, this audience is Irene! Man, Mr. Chairman!